Hi, it's Dorothy Guinan with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm participating in Janet Fritz's monthly YouTube collaboration, Stretch the Sketch. Chances are you know Janet, but if not, her channel is called Galaxy Girl Creations on YouTube, and it's because of her this series happens. She started it probably 5 or 6 years ago, and every month she does tons of work behind the scenes to make sure this series happens. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to Janet. In this series, we start with a 12 by 12 sketch and then we alter it. We either shrink it or we stretch it. So here's the sketch we're playing with in April. It's a Rochelle Spears sketch, and my plan is to stretch it into a 7 photo double page spread. Below, you will find links to all the other participants, so be sure to check out what they do with this month's sketch. Here's what I'm going to be using: the Garden Shop collection by Paige Evans, along with a bit of stash. Everything I use, material and tools, will be listed in the description box below. Before jumping in, I do want to have another look at the sketch just to let you know what I'm thinking. I'm going to be using this sketch pretty much as is for the page on the right, then extending the blocks and circles to the left. I'm also going to add one larger photo on the left, and that's going to be a focal point photo. My plan is also to put photos in each one of those blocks, which is different than the sketch, and my journaling, I'm going to put it in one of those circles. So let's get started. Here's what's on my desk. I did prepare a frame style foundation page in advance with 6 sheets of paper. I gutted 4 of them. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that, so that's going to be listed and linked below. I have 7 photos here. So one of them is 6 by 4. The 6 others are 4 by 3. And I matted them with, I matted them in white cardstock that measures 1/4 inch larger. I'm showing you the papers I have here. Now, some of them are scraps from behind the foundation page. Some of them are scraps from this collection. I also have some wood grain paper there from Simple Stories and some other stuff as well. And you'll see that when I cut into it. Now I'm showing you my embellishment tray. So a lot of these embellishments do come from the Garden Shop collection. I showed you some vellum snowflakes. I cut those out with dies that I got from the scrapbook.com. I'm just showing you some stickers that came from the Garden Shop collection. I also have some foam thickers as well. Those alphas there are from the Hip Kit Club, from an old collection called Chasing Rainbows. I thought that periwinkle blue looked nice with the papers that I had selected. And of course, I have the sketch handy. So the first thing I want to do is cut up a bunch of squares here. And you can see I have that periwinkle paper that came from behind the foundation page. So what I want to do with this is I need 6 squares from this, and I also want to double mat my focal point photo. You may notice on my trimmer I have a piece of a mint tape. That's because I want to cut out 6 identical blocks. Now my blocks are 4.5 inch square. However, I find when I have to cut out multiple squares, sometimes there is a discrepancy in size when I want them all identical in size. So lately I've been putting a piece of tape on my trimmer, and that really helps. So you can see I have 6 identical blocks there, and I did mat my focal point photo, or I should say I double matted it. Now I'm placing my blocks on the page, and you can see I have a space in the middle, and I am basically placing my photos towards the top or bottom edge of the block, depending if they are in the top row or the bottom row. Now I am going to adhere all of this, and I will work on those circles that you see on the sketch a bit later on. So basically I am measuring the distance between my block and the edge of my page. I want that to be equal at the top and at the bottom. Mine is about 1.25 inch from the edge of the page, both at the top and the bottom. And then I adhered my photos to the extreme, either top or bottom edge of that block. Now what I'm going to do is the very same thing on the right page. basically respecting the same margins that I already established on the first page. That white line that's in between the blocks in the middle, that is going to be completely covered up later on in the process when I cut out my circles. I am going to keep my focal point photo loose for the time being because I'm definitely going to want to play around with those circles and my embellishing before committing to placing it on my page. So now what I'm going to do is select 3 papers. I have a few options here, including that brightly colored one with all the words on it, which I absolutely love, but I decide to go with the prints that are more subdued. So I have this one here, which is white with little tiny colored hearts on it. I also have that chevron paper that I got it from behind the foundation page, and I have some wood grain paper from Simple Stories. So from each one of these printed papers, I am cutting out 4 circles, and I will put measurements on the screen, but basically 4 circles in different sizes. And I'm not going to make you watch all of this, but I do it in the 3 pattern papers. And I also applied a bit of ink to the edges of all of these circles very, very lightly. And I was very, very hesitant before I did it because I really like the white crispness that this material, that these papers offer, especially for these snowy day photos. I just showed you the ink. It was Morning Mist by Versifying Claire, which is like a smoky gray. And I am showing you that before I went ahead and inked up my circles, I did test it on scraps of paper before making that decision. So what I'm going to do now with my 12 circles is just start playing with them on my page to make sure I like them. I'm showing you that for one of the circles there, I accidentally put ink on top of it that I didn't want. So I'm hoping that I can hide it when I create this border here. So what I'm going to do basically, I'm not really following the sketch. I just want there to be kind of a staggered border that runs across the 2 pages made up of circles in different sizes. And the way I'm doing it is I'm starting with 1 pattern at a time. You see I started with that wood grain paper. Now I'm coming in with the chevron paper. Originally what's going through my mind is I'm trying to do it in 3 clumps. If you look at that wood grain paper, for example, I have it sort of in 3 clumps. I have 1 big circle, then I have 2 that are sort of together. I'm considering that 1 clump, and then I have 1 over on the far left. I kind of did that as well, but then when I got to the chevrons, you can see I have it in 4 spots. I abandon it. I basically, in the end, I place it so that I think I like it, and then I completely change everything up. And the good news is I don't make you watch all of it. The best advice I can give you here is just play around with it until you come up with something that you like. Now at this point, I think I'm liking what I'm seeing. I know I'm going to be coming in with those flowers later on and then some snowflakes. But before any embellishing, I do have to think about my journaling and my title. So I did my journaling off camera. I did it on vellum and I cut it out. So I basically typed it up on the computer and then printed it and put it on vellum. So when I did it in a circle, I was going to put it on the wood grain paper, but I felt that it showed up better on a lighter circle. So I switched up my wood grain for that white one with the hearts, and that led me to moving around all of my other circles. That's why I say I had all of these ideas in my mind to start with 1 pattern, then the next, to do it in 3 clumps. But in the end, I just started moving everything around, looking for something that pleased my eye. So what I end up doing here is I stop the camera and I continue doing this. So there is my final decision. And funny, I ended up with putting them in 3 clumps anyway. If you look at each one of those papers, they kind of appear in 3 different spots across that border. Now for two of the smaller ones, actually for three of the smaller ones, I'm thinking of maybe popping them up on foam adhesive. So off camera, I cut myself out a little bit of extra cardstock in case I wanted to pop those up just to make the paper a bit more thick. Now I'm showing you my title, which is First Day of Spring in Quebec. So I have it on wax paper so I could play around with placement. At first I thought I would put it on the white cardstock, but I didn't really like how that looked, mostly because of the length of the word spring at the bottom. I ended up putting it on the photo. I kind of like that. Now I'm looking for in Quebec, where am I going to place that? And I decide to put it in the photo in the bottom right corner. So I'm happy with the placement of my circles, my journaling, and my title. So what I'm going to do right now is adhere this, then I will come in and add embellishments to that border in the middle of the page. So you can see I am starting on the left-hand page, starting with those circles. You can see some of them are overlapping the photos, others are tucked underneath. I'm putting a large circle just to the left of that focal point photo because I know I'm going to want to kind of embellish that focal point photo more to make it a focal point, to make it stand out and be different than all of the other photos. It already is bigger, that's one thing. It's already positioned in a different way, that's another thing. And in addition to that, I have a title on it. So those are all things that make a focal point photo a focal point photo. So I adhered the circles, I adhered the photo and the larger circle, and now you saw me coming in with my title on the page, or I should say on the photo. I do the same thing with the title on the right-hand page, and now I'm continuing with the circles on the right-hand page. I start by making sure that that half circle that appears on the right page lines up with the circle on the left-hand page, and I continue. You also may notice I'm coming in with a T-square every once in a while because of that chevron paper. There are lines in it, and I just want to make sure that those are lined up. That's why I come in with my T-square every once in a while with those circles. So I basically adhere all of this down except my journaling vellum and the two circles I plan to pop up on the right, and also that small circle on the left-hand page. Before I commit to any of that, I want to play around with a bit of embellishing. So mostly my embellishing is going to be a mix of flowers and snowflakes, which is a really funny mix, but I love it. I do this page every year. I document the first day of spring in Quebec City because it always looks like winter. It never looks like spring. So I really love doing this story every year, and I love mixing snowflakes with flowers because of it, just because of the irony of it all. It does not look like spring here. So you can see basically I am building three clusters. So one around the focal point photo, there's one around the journaling area, and I'm putting a third one kind of just above that photo in the bottom row on the left-hand page. And it forms a very slight visual triangle across the two pages. It basically bounces along that border. So I start with the flowers, then I come in with some snowflakes as well. And you may have noticed as well on that journaling box, I have a little banner there. The banner is from the ephemera pack from that Garden Shop collection. And I had a little sticker book with tiny alphas in it. So I printed, or I should say I adhered the word details on that. So I'm going to put that on top of the vellum, and that's going to be where I hide my glue underneath it to adhere the vellum to that circle. So once I'm happy with the positioning of all of that, now I'm coming in to adhere. I'm starting with that journaling box there, and for that banner I popped it up on foam adhesive. Once again, I'm just coming in with my T-square to make sure that my journaling is straight across the page. Then I'm coming in with some flower pieces, and then I will pop up that circle with the foam adhesive, the small circle, just to add a little bit of dimension and interest to that border. So I continue with this, continue adhering, and then I'm going to come in with the snowflakes as well. The snowflakes present a bit of a challenge for adhering because it is vellum. So the adhesive you're going to see me get out from time to time, it looks like wax paper that I'm peeling back. That is called Sticky Specks by Ecstasy Crafts. So I'm putting it behind it, but it's really, really sticky, and I ended up ripping some of my snowflakes, but that's okay. I think on my page I ended up putting 5, and I had cut out a few more than that. So I'm almost done here. I'm quite happy. I will come in and add a few finishing touches, but I must say this page came together very, very quickly. Obviously, I've filled up all the blocks with photos. I quite like that, but if you look at the sketch, some of those blocks are empty. So if you don't have 7 photos, you could use this very same page design and leave some of those blocks blank with just pattern paper. I ran out of battery there. I showed you my battery, but I don't think I actually lost any footage. I wasn't sure though. Now I'm coming in for some finishing touches, and I have a handful of enamel dots that are just in my stash, so I'm kind of going through them looking for a color that would work. I end up one that almost looks like a pale periwinkle blue, or maybe a pale gray. So I end up putting a dot in each one of those snowflakes, or the ones where the snowflakes middles are visible. I think one of them was hidden, but that's basically it. I am looking at that word details on the journaling box, and I'm finding it too low at this point. But what I ended up doing off camera was I bumped up that banner just a little bit, so I'm much happier with it. And also, if you look at the cluster around the focal point photo, I added one more snowflake, but that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Don't forget to check out the other Stretch the Sketch participants. Their links are listed below. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.